Boom, there we go. Welcome to A Brodacious Life. We are super glad that
Brodacious.
you are here. Of course, my name is Jonathan. Of course, I've got the famous Dr. J with us today. We're really excited that you're here. You can follow us, of course, on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. You'll be able to see this YouTube live on
They
YouTube.
can see your pretty face.
You can see the faces, baby.
Face.
And then, of course, you can always find us on Apple Podcasts, back up on Spotify here soon. That's kind of having some difficulties with Spotify, so no worries. We'll be back up on Spotify soon. I'm super excited. Dr. J, how's your week? Let's get a quick 60-second catch up on your week, man. How was your week?
Look, it was a fantastic week. We got a lot of stuff done up here. Did a lot of walking, ate some junk food I shouldn't have ate, but I'm gonna do a little better about that. Just pulled a chicken off the big green egg. And man, life is good. My son is in the high school band, and I took him. He looks at me and goes, "Dad, can I go to band day at Jacksonville State University in Alabama, which isn't far from us?" And I was like, "Can you go to a college event?" Sure. So, man, it had a blast. And he's like, "Dad, I think I want to go to college." I'm like, "I'm nailing this parenting thing." So
I'm nailing it.
it's a good week.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
How about you?
I'm hurting, man. I ate way too many tacos today at lunch. We got out of church. I had the stomach. My stomach was a walrus in church. And yeah, I got to we have Margaritas Mexican out there in Clinton, Mississippi. And
I thought you were about to say you had margaritas at your church. And I was like, what church is this?
Church is that? We're getting one with the Holy Spirit, baby.
Yes.
No, the restaurant's called Margaritas. It's in Clinton, Mississippi. And they had a special on birria tacos, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's like the French dip of tacos. So they make like a taco, but instead they get like the tortilla shell and they dip it in the birria, and then they flat top it with the cheese and add in like this braised beef that's cooked in those juices. So it's like a Mexican French dip, and you dip the taco in there and you eat it, and it's so good. It's like dripping all in your chin. It's all over your chest. It's a nasty taco. It's not something that I got it all over my shirt today, but it was so good. It was so good.
That sounds good.
So today I'm super excited. Josh, you've come here today to talk to me about being a lion. So Dr. J, how do I become a lion?
Look, I am so glad you asked. Like, I'm real passionate about this actually, because what we do is lifestyle design. Like, what we're doing is trying to help people design a better life. And I got to tell you, before we go any further about becoming a lion, a lot of these ideas I got from another book, and I want to give this book and this person full credit. And I believe in it so much that if you go to our website, abrodaciouslife.com/resources, we actually have a link on there where you can go read Scott Alexander's book. And his book is called Rhinoceros Success. And it's a funny book. In fact, I read it about 3 years ago. And I think the book is so important and it's so motivating that I actually reread it twice a read. I don't know. Do you have any books that you do twice a year?
So I've read The 4-Hour Work Week about twice a year. That book just absolutely energizes my mind. And I've read the Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits twice last year, and then I'm about to start working it again because I really like that, because everything's about our habits, our daily habits that help us break free of a lot of our inefficiencies that we have.
Look, and this book it's motivating, but in a different way. Basically what Scott did was he compares us, like, through personification, he compares us like if we were in a jungle. He says, you need to be like a rhino. In fact, his book, if you really want to dig in, go check out the Audible version. It is fantastic because it starts off with, "Good morning. You rolled out of bed because you're a 2-ton charging rhinoceros. That's why your wife was surprised to find you this morning." And it's just really hilarious. Scott Alexander, reading his book is like epic. But basically in the book, he talks about becoming rhinoceros and compares it with cows and sheep. Cows are just happy being plain normal lives in their pastures, and there's nothing wrong with being a cow, but they're not aware they're being let off they know they're getting fattened up. They think it's okay, but they don't realize what's on the other side of it. Or sheep, who are just kind of frolicking and they're there for someone else's use, but they have to have a shepherd, and sometimes wolves come get the sheep. But then there's the rhinoceros. And so in his book, a rhino is a person who is charging at their goals. Because, when you think rhinoceros, you think the horn, they're like charging.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about a rhino has thick skin. A rhino isn't trying to be a cow or a sheep. And a rhino isn't scared to get dirty, because when you think about rhinos, they're like rolling around in like mud pits and stuff. Yeah. And rhinos are like very focused on where they're going. So for the longest time, I started off my journey on trying to become a rhino, which was total epic fun. Before we get into a lion, what are your thoughts on just being a rhino?
I've got to be careful, because you sound like a lot about what it is these days to be alive and be a human. We're here working through our goals. So I'm interested in what's wrong with being a rhino.
Okay, so first off, there's nothing wrong with being a rhino. In fact, I think being a rhino is so right that the only way I got to this new thing I'm going to talk about, being a lion, was from like trying to achieve all that was rhino. And so first off, read Scott's book. Anyone out there, totally a huge fan. Scott gets buku credit because it's awesome. But here were my issues as I started really digging in. And there's nothing, I'm not saying that I am right and Scott Alexander was wrong. Scott Alexander is awesome. But here were things that I pondered when I was designing my life. Number one, rhinos are friends with everyone, but they aren't necessarily the rulers of their domain. Like, I have big goals. I want to accomplish great things, big, hairy, audacious goals in my universe. And so like when you think of a rhino, you're not thinking the king of the jungle. You're just thinking of another important charging big animal, but not necessarily the ruler of his domain. That's my first issue.
Okay.
The second thing is that in the book, and it makes sense that rhinos have thick skin. And I think that's important, totally important, because, if you're charging towards your goals as a rhino, or you're trying to, what I'm eventually going to talk about, ruling your domain, at some point, not everybody's going to like it. You're going to brush up against some hyenas and some other things, but rhinos have thick skin. But I think there's something to be said about feeling the pain of other people, because like when I pass away,
others on your way.
Yes. Like, I want to leave a legacy. And part of that legacy is I don't want to have a skin so thick that I'm not aware of what's going on in the world. Like, there's more to me than just personal success. For me, my personal success, that if I die and pass away, my legacy is that I left something for other people. And if all I have is thick skin, I think sometimes I may miss what's going on around me.
You definitely miss out on a key part in, what it is to be human. Being human is obviously, it's about, hopefully having a desire to be successful, but part of being a human is also helping others. There's something about when you feel empathetic towards another human being and understanding their side, even when you're on your path, you're on the fast lane and maybe they're on the slower lane, but being able to, understand where they're at in life and help them where they are in life. If you completely pass by them and don't have any feeling or understanding for that person in the lane beside you, I feel like you're missing out on the human experience.
Oh, I agree 100%. At the end of all of this life that we're designing, we're trying to live in our greatest moments, live that brodacious life. The thing about it is our life is not measured in money. I want to make more money. I own a company where we do all the things we do, working, but it's the people. If we miss the people, if I see everything, but I miss the person sitting across from me, did I really achieve the ultimate goal? And can you really do something lasting for the world if you miss the people? I don't know.
I really don't think you can. I think there's a reason why when you help somebody and you do something small. And sometimes it's just like as simple as holding a door open for somebody, or, carrying groceries out. Lots of little old ladies go to our little small town grocery store, and I hate for them to carry bags. I will lose my spot in line to go help somebody carry their bags. That's the one thing I can't do a lot. I'm not a super over the top, put my hands on you and pray kind of person. I want to be, it's just not my personality, but I like acts of kindness. So I
Mhm.
feel like when you're doing that, you feel good inside. You feel good when you help somebody, when you mow someone's grass. So it's important to be, understanding and feeling towards what's going on in a lane on either side of you.
I agree. And, I'll throw a third one out here, and it's my third issue that when I, over time, have decided I wanted more than just being a rhino. It has to do with like a rhino is always charging, it's charging down its goal. Salespeople love being rhinos because it's like, I've got this goal, I'm blocked out,
Yes,
I'm
my world.
charging right towards it.
Yeah.
That's like sales right there.
Yeah.
But sometimes we get so focused on charging at that goal that we might miss opportunities to help other people achieve their goals. John Maxwell, another one of my favorite leadership authors, he said that a leader has people following them. That a leader is or Dr. Martin Luther King said it this way: all it takes to be a leader is to serve. And by that definition, anyone can be a leader because everyone can serve. And so I don't want to be so focused charging at my goals that I forget that real leaders, real people of significance, of impact, they're not just narrowly focused on their goals, but they're going, how can I help people around me achieve their goals? That's legacy, my friend. That's legacy. So yeah, those are my issues with being a rhino.
All right. So you talked about being a lion. So when it comes to being a lion, talk to me about being a lion. How does one become a lion?
All right. So I was sitting here trying to figure out, okay, there's this massive jungle and I want to become something. The rhino isn't going to be my spirit animal. What is my spirit animal that I want to be like? And when Disney's Lion King comes on, the Elton John song.
Oh, yeah.
I know. And on there, it's this powerful moment where they're on top of Pride Rock, and it's Mufasa, the dad lion, and he's holding up Simba, and he later on has this moment where he says, do you see this kingdom? It's as far as the eye can see. This is the kingdom that you rule. Is that not Mufasa?
That's not Mufasa. Mufasa's the bad lion. Keep going though.
Oh, it's not Mufasa. I'm just kidding. It's not Mufasa.
I don't want to.
But you know what I mean? The
I know what
daddy
you mean,
lion.
though.
Like, I don't watch Disney. I was watching it with my kids. But the daddy lion holds up Simba, whatever it says. Sorry, so not Mufasa. But anyways, it's like this big moment. And so I thought, like, that's it. That's it. To me, that's it. So here, I'm going to give you 9 reasons why I think being a lion is what we need to do. And when you're designing your life today, I want to give you a challenge. Be the lion of your universe. And so these are the 9 points. Stop me now, Jonathan, as if you want some more on this. So
Okay.
I'll start at the first. Here we go. Number 1, I want to wake up every day and be the ruler of my universe and make it or break it. I want my choices to determine my destiny and my future. Now, faith guides that for me. So when I say rule my destiny, for me, that God is the glue that I'm focused on.
Right.
But you know what? We talk about having a freedom in the Brodacious Life. Like, I want the freedom to live or die by my own choices. And just like the lion is the ruler of his domain, I want to rule my domain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So what are ways that we can help rule our domain daily?
I tell you what, I've got some ideas on that. Let's go a little bit further, because at the end, I'm going to answer that exact question.
Oh, look at you. You are on
I know.
it. So give us number 2 then.
Because I'm going to answer that exact question. All right. Number 2, the thing that I want to be a lion. Lions are hunters. And I'm excited by the hunt. Like, now I know your version of hunting, and this is going to be so funny because you're like probably a real hunter. Like, you've got a Facebook video where like you take chickens and pluck the chickens. And like, for me, hunting is I'm in Publix and I'm on a mission to get the best cut of salmon.
No, I cheat the process a little bit, and we grow most of our animals here. These guys, I really appreciate the people who actually go out and physically hunt. We did that a little bit 2 years ago. Got to go out, and I had a property then big enough for me to go out and hunt. And that's it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be a hunter. And when you were on the hunt, people think of we get very in these quick win mindsets, but hunting is not about a quick win. If it was, every animal in the domain would be dead. But number
Right.
two, it takes practice, it takes skill, it takes knowledge. There's a lot that goes into the hunt. The actual kill is only like 5% of the hunt. The actual breaking down of the animal and cooking it and doing all of that, that's only 5% of the hunt. You had to find the location, prep the location. Did you have the right camo? Are you even in the right place for that animal? That sounds odd, but you'd be amazed at how many people show up to shoot a deer in the wrong spot.
You mean when I go out in the United States forest and I'm wearing my Afghanistan camo, that doesn't do me any good?
I played airsoft with a guy yesterday playing like straight up like desert gear in the middle of the woods. He stuck out like a sore thumb.
Hilarious.
Perfect example.
But something too, one of my good friends, Coach Walker, coaches the football team over here. He teaches his football players to love the hunt. And the idea behind that is to love the process of becoming great. A lion, it's not just the kill that the lion likes, but that lion will wait in hours and do what it's the process leading up to it, because greatness happens through a process. And so like for me, when lions are hunters and they're excited about the hunt, that's me. I love the process of getting good.
Yeah.
And I get excited about becoming better. In fact, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people may disagree with me, but a brodacious life for me is not about achieving greatness, because if I have achieved it, there's nothing left to live for.
Right.
It's about the process of knowing what greatness is.
Yeah.
And every day I wake up, I'm learning, I'm hunting, I'm trying to achieve that thing. And in learning and becoming, achieving and growing, that is worth waking up for I will be better today because I've had this conversation with you than I was yesterday.
Amen, brother. So number three.
Number three, sorry, I really get excited about this. Lions are protectors. And I know you and we both have kids, we have families. But the reason why I like mentioning this is something that I want to be, is that my life is not enough to live it for myself. I want to protect my family and leave a legacy behind. My wife's pregnant in addition to our two teenagers. And, every day it's like, what can I do? How are you feeling? I'm nervous. My two teenagers, they're about to approach those dating. I pity the fool that tries to date my daughter. I can't.
Yeah. I've already scared the crap out of multiple boys that get around my
daughter. Will lion that up. That's a story. That's a whole separate episode right there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I want to do everything I can to protect my own. And that's the way lions are, because lions aren't living just for lions. Lions are living for the pride.
Right. Hey, man.
I'll keep going. Number 4.
Yeah. Give me number 4, buddy.
All right. Lions have a vision. They're not just there for themselves, but for the world. And this kind of goes with being protectors, but even on areas that aren't just about protecting. When it comes to supplying and things they do, lions aren't just charging straight ahead. They're aware, just like in Lion King, when they stood on top of like Pride Rock and looked out across their kingdom, and you see them walking around, and and I know it's a Disney movie, but they're managing all the other animals, because lions have a vision of how things in the world should be. And so like for me, I want to have my kingdom, but I want the vision for what the world could be like. Now, I want to pull faith into that too. There's a book called Simply Christian by N.T. Wright. And N.T. Wright says that all of us have a longing for some form of social justice. Now, we may not all agree on what that is, but we all have a longing that we all know in some form that the world is not what it could be. It should be something else. And N.T. Wright is making the statement that that's how we know a heaven exists, because from the moment we're born, we're longing for a world that's not here. and we're trying to live our life to get it closer to that thing. And I think that's an important point of lines and a vision, that we have a vision for the world. And my job is to do my part to make my world a better place.
Amen, brother. Give me number 5.
All right, number 5. When lions get together, it's called a pride. Now, I like this, because I take pride in my friendships. I take pride that I'm here today talking to you, my brother. And I want to develop those relationships around me and live life and have fun to the fullest. I don't want to just hang out with other lions. I want to respect all the animals in my domain. There's nothing wrong. I got some friends that are cows and some friends that are sheep. I try to distance myself from the hyenas. I know a couple bears, and it's like, hey, we can all be rulers in our own domain. And I say this too, and I think this is important. This gets a little controversial, but just to say it, some other lion in their pride going for their version of success on their mountain does not infringe on me and mine. And we go back to freedom that we talk about a lot. When you're designing your life and trying to become like a lion, one of the things you're going to notice is there's more than one alpha lion in the world. Like when you look at the Amazon, there's an alpha lion in his jungle, and then somewhere miles away is another alpha lion in his little jungle. And the alphas, there's no way they live that close and they don't know that the other one exists. They just stay out. Like, there's a respect there. And I think that's why it's called a pride, because this is my territory. I take care of it. At the same time, I make room that your pride may be a little different than mine, and that's okay, because America, baby. And
It was like the
I love it.
coexistence of Apple and Microsoft. At the end of the day,
Yes.
those guys were friends. They were both complete alphas in their world. Both, even in the same, small square at that time. You think of like, the late 90s, early 2000s, and where those guys were. For years it was, Bill Gates, was the alpha, and then Steve Jobs slowly caught up. But both of those guys stayed in the world, and they knew their customer and they knew their world. They were both alphas in their own ways, even in the same industry, but they coexisted together. They competed sometimes, but they both knew their route, what their products were, what their life was, what their family was, which is their consumer, and they stuck to that pride, if you will, of what their consumer was.
I think that's huge. And I think in today's society, and I know you and I talked about, we're going to outline a show where we actually talk about this. We just want to make sure we outline it tastefully. But like, it's okay to have relationships with people who you may be diabolically opposed on some issues. A thing that comes to my mind is, I did my doctorate at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is the largest evangelical Christian university in the world. Its founder, Jerry Falwell Sr., was one of the ones that started the moral majority. But what a lot of people may have forgotten is that one of the common speakers, or I say common, but frequent speakers at Liberty, was one of the most liberal people you will ever meet politically. It was Ted Kennedy. And over time, Ted Kennedy and Jerry Falwell became great friends. And you can actually read about that. Now, they would disagree on issues, but make room to see the person on the other side. I remember the speech that Bill Clinton gave when George Bush Sr. passed away. And I thought, there's some powerful moments in here that I hope that my generation doesn't lose sight of, that you can disagree with someone and how they run their pride, but not hate the person.
Right. At the end of the day, I believe we all have more in common than we don't. We all have simple goals. We all, our brains, we all want the same thing. We want to be accepted. We want to be successful, and whatever that might mean. Different success might mean different things to different people, but we have the same desires and basic goals that we want to have in life. So, I think when people often lose that. I've had an opportunity so 3 years ago, and I'll be just a quick story. So a couple of years ago, we were living in a house in Starkville. Our house kind of sat in an area that was very different per se than my household. Again, we were homesteaders. We are, I don't want to say it, but we're just good old red state folks. We'll leave it at that. Good old Mississippi people. And, I've never had beef with anybody. I've never had any issues, but we had a cow get loose from one of the pastures around us. And this cow, of course, was named Betsy, as cliche as that could be. But we went house to house that day, and we probably went to 20 or 30 different houses. And I learned in that day is just there's so many different people that were in the community around me that were so drastically different. But it amazed me the inner web of people that met together that knew how to find. Eventually, we found the farmer whose cow that belonged to. And we were able to track down that cow. But it took a full pride of people to be able to find, the cow and to get it back to its rightful owner. And I think it's such a powerful thing when people from very different walks of life come together to achieve something. And I think, we talk about and being brodacious, I think that's one of those things. It speaks to things that are beyond Republican, it's beyond Democrat, it's beyond independent. What we're talking about is not left wing, right wing. It's about finding freedom for yourself. And we're not talking about America freedom. We're talking about freedom that is freedom from the things that hold you back in your mind, in your physical and your spiritual life, your interpersonal relationships with your wife and your kids. That's the freedom that we're talking about. And when you release all of that, you really start to develop a pride around you of people who are intermittent, working together to achieve something. And that's what we're here about on our podcast. It's about finding that, coming together and helping you break through that chain together. And I'm just really excited about that. I'm really hyped on this, Josh. Really hyped on this, man. Dr. J, give us number 6.
All right, number 6, faith is important to a lion. And if you think I'm making this up, go back and watch Disney, The Lion King. There was a point in there where, the dad lion or whatever is teaching Simba. I swear his name was Mufasa. I swear Mufasa was the good lion. I could totally be wrong. We got to Google this. Anyways,
I got it. While you tell the story.
So, but he says, they go out and he basically has a moment where he looks into the stars and he sees all the other lions that have come before me, and he sees his place in the universe. Now, for me, I'm a Christian, and being a Brodacious Life, I want to be very clear. I hope
you're right.
I can share my faith.
Dad, I'm wrong.
Okay, I am right. Oh, I was like, I'm really wrong on my Disney stuff.
I'm getting torched by my kids today.
Oh my goodness. But anyways, but now, it's the idea that whatever your faith is or whatever you believe, it's that it grounds you, that it brings you something, that you're connected. In my case, I'm connected to my faith in Jesus Christ and how I want to follow the lifestyle he left. But also for me, I have a legacy of strong men and women in front of me that lived that same life. And I'm now trying to live that life to set that example for people to follow me as well. And so just like Simba, the Lion King, was trying to live up to all the other Lion Kings that had come before him, I am trying to live up to a Lion King. In my case, being a Christian, is Jesus Christ. And I'm trying to live up and follow that model so that the person that comes behind me, my kids, can see that same thing and get to that same place. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, there's so much that goes on in the strengthening of our faith, and we have to be aligned when it comes to our faith. There's so many different things that come at us from left field. Originally, I think we talked about in a previous episode, science and Aristotle and Galileo, they were there to prove God exists. There's a lot of science that's out there today purposely trying to prove that God or a higher being does not exist. So we have to be aligned in our faith. And when there's all this noise in our ears that, what our faith is silly or what we believe is ridiculous, it requires a lion to stand in the face of that and give that big lion roar back that this is who I am. This is my pride. This is how I'm going to stand on my rock and be that, be that protector of what is essentially the moral compass of your pride.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Love it. You said it.
So number 7, give it to
Number
us.
7, yeah, couldn't follow that up. You're right on it. Number 7, and I've only got 3 more, but the lion is always aware of the resources around him. Like he's taken into account water, food, weather, and he keeps his pride, his group prepared for what lies ahead. I remember watching on Nat Geo, like if the resources dry up, that lion will attempt to move. And when he moves, his whole group goes with him because lions, they're not just charging, they're aware of everything and they're trying to lead. That's why they call him the king of the jungle. They're leading everyone else around them to safety and to the resources they need. I like to throw this too, as far as it relates to to finances. You know, we have to be aware of the resources we have, aware of ways we can get resources, and understand that when you have resources, you have a responsibility not just to necessarily give it away. Like I'm not, you know, before we get stuck in capitalism, socialism, that's not what I'm saying. But I do have a responsibility that if God has given me a lot, to equip, train, and share so other people can find the same freedom that I have found.
Exactly. Uh, we've done a lot with that around the farm on homesteading. You know, this is a big aspect of why we homestead. You know, I have 6 kids, you know, wife, we have a mother-in-law that lives with us, you know, part of the year. And, you know, providing for my family is a big key part of that. For us to make things happen, you know, for us, we need to homestead, meaning that we need to, it's cheaper for us and a family our size to actually physically grow our chickens, to grow our own red meat through sheep and pigs, or sheep and cow. You know, we have pigs, and to do a lot of that process. But that process is about being able to provide. I have a moral responsibility to my community, to my pride, to be able to provide for myself and make sure that, you know, I'm not going to be a hindrance to the world around me. My pride, you know, my people are not going to be the one messing up the system, if you will. You know, we
Mhm.
had an awesome chance during COVID when everything shut down to be able to, you know, physically be able to, like, all right, we're going to lock down. And we were able to just kind of hunker down there. I had food for 6 months, which was, you know, thankfully I was only out for like 3 or 4 days. My boss was like, all right, yeah, come back. You know, I'm very blessed that my COVID break was not too long. But we have a moral responsibility to help those around us as well, as part of that training process of, you know, we want, I always hear people, I'm going to say this. We always hear about, oh, well, that group's lazy, or that group over there, they don't want to do this. I think a lot of times you'll find that, have we equipped them properly to know how to do said task? You know, it's very
Mhm.
easy for us to say, well, the next generation does this. Well, did we equip the next generation to be able to handle it? You know, and sometimes that's honestly no. We failed them as the next generation. Maybe there's things from the generation above us that maybe they just didn't know and they dropped the ball, you know, but we're learning, and then, you know, so forth and so forth. Number 8, give it to us.
Okay, and the last 2 kinda go together, but, you know, number 8 is, and we briefly touched on this, but the lion is the king of the jungle. This means he's free to go where he wants, but also understand that other predators have to cower in his presence. And, you know, he has the freedom to go, but he's also, uh, you know, he walks firmly. And I think that's important because in life, there will be bad things happen. And there is a certain freedom, but I want to be the person that's the king of my jungle, that when adversity comes to me, I am not scared of adversity. Adversity is scared of me. I always say, my quote that I coach my team is some people let some people let things happen to them, but I choose to happen to things. Um, let that sink in. You know, some people let things happen to them, but I happen to things. So, and I'll go ahead and give you number 9, and that is that lions live with fury. They're ferocious. And even humans will steer clear of lion. Like humans don't just go charging. I mean, if you're going to charge at a lion, you better have more than one bullet, because even buckshot
Yeah,
from far
no.
away is not taking down a lion. Like that lion's gonna get you. So, you know, even lions, but at the same time, we also know that a lion can be a ferocious friend. A lion can be, I like to think that a lion, not to go too far into this, but is ferocious with its lioness. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know, and I want to have, yeah, you know, got to throw that in there a little bit. lifestyle design. I want to design that kind of life. But you know what I'm saying? Like the lioness, it's a ferocious love, but at the same time, there's ferocious when needs to be for that sake of protection. So that ferocity, I think those are the 9 parts of being a lion that I think I really want to emulate in my life.
So, Dr. J, we know that, we have basic, 5 basic principles basically of becoming there's 5 pillars, or we say the 5 F's to give an F about. Of course, we got faith, family, freedom, finance, and fun. So how does those 9 points, how do we fit in to becoming a lion in those 5 points?
All right, so I'm going to tell you the 5 ways that I think that we can implement, and then I want to tell you about a free resource that's starting this week. I'd like to give our listeners, no money, free, just give it to you to help you get there. Because what good is knowing McDonald's Big Mac exists if we can't get you to it? So anyway, wait, we just did an episode on health. Anyways, moving right on along. So, so let's talk about that faith. If you're going to rule your jungle, who and what are you going to look for strength? Because it's not always going to be easy. And sometimes the lion has to be a lion. There can only be one alpha. And sometimes you got to be an alpha alone. So understanding who your faith is in is important. Just like Simba had to draw from faith of the ancestors, I draw my faith from Christ. And another way is what is the code that you're going to live by and model for all the others in your pride to kind of follow? Because all animals in the jungle follow you. So what you do matters.
Amen.
That's faith.
It goes back into, you kind of play into that a little bit because you talked about the Lion King. There was 2 different moral compasses between Mufasa and Scar. Scar was the bad guy.
Scar. Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Thanks, Google. So when, there's 2 completely different moral compasses, and they both had their own pack or pride, if you will. And so there was 2 different moral compasses. It's important that we are on the right moral compass that provides you the glue or the spackle to hold all the other items together. I really do feel that faith is the most important piece of those pillars, because it literally is the spackle, it's the glue, it's what holds every single piece together. And without that moral compass, the other things can go askew. That's the only thing that holds all of that in. So if you're right in your faith and what you believe, then the other items are going to fall into place a lot more easily than if you don't have that moral compass or understanding of how we should be treating our others. How should we be, what does it mean to tithe and to bless others and to do those things that as a faith we should be doing weekly? So give me the next one, family.
Family. So a lion is loyal to his family and friends. And we talked about on our F's that, family doesn't have to be blood. Family could be people that you're close to, but they're the people that you allow to pour in your life. Those are family. So a lion is loyal. And you have to think first, the lion leads his family and friends into becoming rulers of their own jungle. And something else is that a lion doesn't become a lesser cow or sheep or goat, because lions aren't influenced by the cows, the sheep, and goats to make bad decisions. Instead, he leads his jungle. So cows, sheep, and goats, we all have them. So in an attempt to have family and close relationships, we don't allow them to influence us to negative. We're trying to lead them. But by trying to lead them, we're doing so because we value them. I'm not trying to lead you. I know that if you're my friend and you're a drug addict, eventually those drugs are going to get you. I'm not going to go do drugs with you and follow you because that's what cows do. But I am going to try to do my part to lead you to better decisions, not because I think I'm better, but because I value you so much. And your life is worth it to me. And I also think, and this kind of goes along with that, even the jungle we mentioned, that like sometimes a lion will kick someone out of the pride. They don't do it at first. But you got to think about Scar in that movie. Scar got kicked out, and we figured out at the end of the movie why Scar was not a very well liked person, because Scar couldn't get away from the hyenas. And there's some, we joked around about my daughter and dating and my son and stuff, but it's okay when you value people to sometimes take someone and you write down a friend list. And if you've got someone that just no matter what, they're not going in the same direction, you got to send them out. Maybe they'll go rule their own pride somewhere else, but it's okay to let people out of your pride.
Amen. Next one is freedom.
Oh yeah, freedom. So freedom. Lions walk freely around their domain. Like they observe all the animals in their kingdom. They're not scared to scrapple the wolf now if they need to. They'll charge down a human if they feel that human is targeting their family. But lions, if you've watched Nat Geo, man, lions are playing around in the mud. They love to soak up the sun. They're like duck down. They're having a good time. Lions make time to play with their cubs. Like you can see that on TV where even though he's the king of the jungle, he's still making time to play with the cubs. He's still out frolicking with the lioness. Lions are the ruler of the jungle, but they also take time to enjoy the jungle. And I think sometimes in a Brodacious life, freedom is time, and we need to take time to do the things we love. That's what makes life worth living. When I find someone that's kind of down on life, I say, how are you spending your time? Well, I just want to make more money. That's not what I ask you. How are you spending your time? Because freedom is the ability to take our time and do what we want to do.
That's literally the only unrenewable resource in the world.
Yes. That's the reason, by the way, we talk about these F's, why that we put, but I don't know if any of our listeners are smart enough yet, but they're in a very distinct order. Freedom comes before the next F, which is finance. It has to.
Yeah. You've got to be able to be mentally free to be able to understand what you need to spend that money on. Because again, without faith, you lack the moral compass to understand that finance and what that finance means. Finance, if you're not careful, you could be quickly going down a dark path. I've worked in restaurants where, we were told basically in our internships that everyone here is going to have a drug. Some of you are going to be on meth. Some of you are going to be on this. Like, or you can choose something that's positive, a positive drug, such as your family, your faith. Maybe you focus it on just straight education, but everybody here will find some way to get through the stress of this job. And it's up to you to find a moral compass that helps you get through that. And when you don't have the faith to help guide you on your finance, you could easily find your moral compass sitting on, are you spending money or spending your freedom of mental space? You could be spending that instead on cigarettes, alcohol, drugs. I hate to say much worse things, from strip clubs to you name it. There's really a path that if you don't have the mental freedom and you've not broken those chains from those things, we really got to go back to square one and really start focusing in on that faith, and then build on that faith, then build up to your family. And I always say, remember, your family is not always your biological family. Your faith, your family is those who are directly around you and rely on you, and you are relying on them. We live in a little ecosystem of people, and you need to focus on, it could only be 3 people, but you really need to focus on those relationships and understand those relationships. And then you build up to, together with those people, you're working on the freedom by talking and learning and growing, and that you build up to freedom. And that the 4th piece is finance. So Dr. J, break down what it means to be a lion in finance.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. My normal microphone, there it goes, just kick back in. Sorry about that. So
It's all good.
The finance, people talk about financial freedom, but what they're really saying is the purpose of finance is to buy freedom, and freedom comes out with a high price. But finance, lions take into account the resources in their area, and they make plans. An alpha lion, or the lion that rules all other lions, which is what we want to be, we already said, we'll move the pride if they need it. He'll catch dinner and share it if needed. He'll fight off the wolves. He'll fight off the hyenas if needed. He lies in wait for the deal, knows when to strike. but is also aware of when to let it go. And now, if you want to read books on the art of the deal or chasing, the greatest next, whatever, there's a million of them out there. But let me tell you, part of being a Brodacious Life too is understanding that at times in life, you have to let that deal go because that deal compromises your faith. It might compromise your family. I'd love to be a millionaire, but not at the sake of compromising my family. At that point, I'm cash rich, but life poor. And that's not what a Brodacious Life is all about. So you look like you've got something. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm just agreeing with you. I mean, there's a big thing to say about, being aligned in your finance. It's very easy, and I'm guilty of it. I'll be honest with you. It's one of those things that I do struggle with. I struggle with my finances from a point of putting, I need to be putting nuts away, every month for something big that's going to happen. I've been talking to you about, property investment. And that's really opened up my mind. And, how do I get from that to where I have a big family and I'm the sole income from my house. So I'm trying to mentally go from, okay, going paycheck to paycheck to finding that money for the investment. So you really got to, I've been doing a lot of diving deep into what's really important to my finance. And if I'm spending money on something, is it really important to my five things? I need to make sure that those are important to my five pillars. If it's not, it's not worth that expense, because I want to grow my pride. I want to grow my strength, if you will, for the last piece of the puzzle, which is fun. At the end of the day, it's, you only live once. So what do you believe is fun about becoming a lion?
Look, I love fun. Lions have fun. There's a reason that the lioness loves the lion. I mean, who does not want to be a lion? We talked about the mud pits, but when a lion sees a mud pit, man, that lion just hops in there and rolls around. They're free to do all the things. I think about in the movie The Lion King, that was fun. I mean, Simba was out, running through, was a song, because I just can't wait to be king. I mean, he's out running through.
Yes.
Everybody look left, everybody look right. I mean, they're having a blast.
Yes.
And they're still aware of the stampede, because later on Mufasa is going to save Simba and talk about the circle of life. So they're still aware that there's stuff going on out there, but I think part of being a lion is learning to have fun in any circumstance. That wherever you're at, wherever your jungle is, it's going to have jungle type things, but you get to have fun. And I can't define now for our listeners, and even for you, I can't define what that fun is, because my jungle that I live, my pride is going to be different than yours. I live in metropolitan area. You live in the country. I shop at Publix. You're out like legit growing it. Like you probably make coffee over a fire. I go to Starbucks. It's like completely different lives. But that's what this show, but more importantly, lifestyle design is all about. It's not about what, it's not even about how, because we get there the same way. It's about understanding that your race, and my friend Eric talked about this in his book, The Pathfinder Journey. And I put a link to that. If you go on our resources page, you can see it. And I'm trying to get Eric on the show to talk about this. But in his book, The Pathfinder Journey, there was a mentor on there, and he said, always remember that person is running a different race than you, and their race is valid, and their race just isn't your race. And so have fun running your race, but also make room to understand that the race may be different, but we can still support each other as we run separate races.
Amen.
So can I give away something for free?
Yeah, let's do it.
So there's a resource that Jonathan and I have put together, and I think it's incredible, and it's meant to go with the show, and we're going to release it eventually. It's a product we've put together, but for now, we just want to give it away. If you're listening to the show right now, you're here at a Brodacious Life in its infancy and everything else, but we want to help more people live like a lion. But to do that, you got to design the right life. You got to design your Brodacious life. And Jonathan and I kind of wanted to help you to do that in a way that's organized. if you will. So let me tell you what we've done. We've actually gotten together and we've created this thing called a Brodacious Journal. And again, this is absolutely free. And the Brodacious Journal, what it's going to ask you to do is it's going to, number one, it's going to help you define, you're going to write out what your goals are. Because I can't tell you what your goals, your pride is your pride, your race is your race. It's going to be different than mine. But you take what your goals are. We're going to have an episode coming up where we're going to talk about the 1% law of marginal gains. And so you'll be able to hear another episode on that to talk about how to create momentum that is achievable and doable. But the whole idea is to help you live each day with the 5 F's, that every month, every week, I should say, you're going to incorporate the 5 F's into your life. And every day you got to touch on at least 3 of those. But here's the magic, that if you follow the journal, that it will help you do. It's not just a day planner. It's so much more. Is it will help you to, number one, see the successes. We want you to see your successes that you've done. A lot of times you don't feel successful because you never wrote it down. You didn't see it. Number 2, success happens because we plan for them. I know I need the 5 F's. I got to give an F about 5 things. So I have to plan for that to happen. And then one last thing it's going to ask you to kind of do is to be aware of other people in your world. And what are more opportunities that you can help them to be successful? But at the end of every week, you get to do a reflection. And part of that reflection is, what are some things that you were doing that you realize now that if you did less of that thing that didn't matter, it could give you more time for freedom? Or maybe you're like, I don't have time for faith, I'm too busy. Well, then we're going to help you create more time for faith. Or maybe your finances are out of whack. Well, we got to create more time for you to listen or read. We're going to give you the resources. So that we're going to do a whole show on this journal. But for today, step 1 is to give it away free. And then we'll come back and talk about it. So this is what you can do if you want the journal for free. If you go to our website, brodaciouslife.com, there is a space on the front page now where you can sign up for our newsletter. And the first thing you get from our newsletter will be a link to the PDF copy of a Brodacious Life Journal. I mean, you'll have it instantly, and you can do what I did. I use Notable, and so I've got it uploaded into my iPad. That's how I use it. If you're old school, you can print it. You can print it black and white. It works just the same. Or maybe you just have a copy and you use that with a notebook to jot down your own notes in the format. But we're going to start talking about key components on the show of things that you can add in there to really design your best Brodacious life. And we just want to give it away. We're not asking anything. Just sign up. We'll email it to you. It's headed your way.
I'm really excited about it. We've got, I require a certain amount of structure in my life. And I'm really excited about this journal that we've been working on, and shout outs to Dr. J and all of his hard work. I'm not good with graphic design and those things. Ask me to cook, I can cook. Ask me to talk, I can talk. Shout out to Dr. J, and he's just done an over the top job and taking something that was a vision and then just absolutely blowing our minds with it. Again, just sign up on the newsletter at abrodaciouslife.com. Don't sweat if you can't spell it. The link's going to be in the descriptions down below in the podcast notes. So don't feel like you've got to, worry about it too much. We're just super excited that you're here. And again, we consider you part of our pride. You're part of our family. When you're logging in, we're building this community, and we're super excited that you're here. There's been lots of growth in the podcast this last couple of weeks, and we're just really excited about that. I mean, our Instagram went from like 7 people to almost 600 in a matter of like 2 weeks. And it's because there's people who I think are out there that are like us, who need the 5 F's.
But can I expand on that too, on the Instagram page?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I'm excited about the Instagram is. It's not just another social media account. I mean, most of us out here are millennial dads, some millennial moms too. I know a few moms that are some brodettes chilling in. Brodettes, go download this Brodacious journal. That's right, brodettes. It works for you too. But the thing about it is Instagram, when each show we share, like this one will have a graphic or JPEG or whatever the kids call it on the Instagram page. But I want you, if you're listening and you have a question or something, a thought that you have, go put it in there, because the people that reply to that, there is no famous virtual assistant. It's Chef Jonathan and I. We look at every comment, we reply to everything, and we are on. This is a life sourced show, if you will. And we're learning from your comments. Maybe you're not trying to be a lion. Like, that's the example we use. But maybe you're like, no, have you ever thought about the ant? The ant can lift 5,000 pounds its weight. Like, hey, I'm up for it. But we want to interact with you out there. So on the Instagram, please go in there and leave a comment, and let's, we might be able to get you on the show and talk, because that's the final step. Because like we said, we're up on top of this mountain, if you will. And over the last few weeks, you listeners have been amazing. And we're watching our vision expand. And there's more now in our jungle. And my big thing is I want to make room for you. If you're out there, maybe you're running your race differently than me, but maybe, just maybe, there's a way you're running your race that would make me and help me run mine better. So I want to learn from the listeners, man. Just I hope you'll interact and engage, because I'm excited about the listeners.
So again, all the links for our social media and everything will be in the descriptions down below. Of course, on Instagram, it's a Brodacious Life. It's all one word. And we are super excited that you're here. We're looking forward to another great week. I'm excited to be filling out my journal. This will be my first full week doing the journal. And I'm just super, super, super excited about it, to learn how I'm going to grow mentally and spiritually on just growing my pride, focusing on my 5 F's and taking my life to the next level.
It's awesome, man. I'm in it too. Look, maybe next week we can do a minute, just a brief minute, on what we both discovered this week in the first week of this lifestyle Brodacious Life journal moment, man. Maybe that's what we can do with this. We'll take a minute and talk about what we've discovered.
I'm up for it. So again, hop on the newsletter, find us on Instagram, be a part of the community, and we will see you next time on A Brodacious Life.